Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the January 10th legislative session of the Salisbury City Council. I'd like to welcome everybody and ask everyone to please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, I'll call on Pastor Greg Morris of the Parkway Church of God for the invocation.
Again, I want to thank you for the privilege to be here, to the esteemed members of the City Council, to Mayor Jake Day. Of course, his grandfather was the pastor of the Parkway Church of God for 6 years. And so it's a privilege. And this month, I celebrate my 10th anniversary at the Parkway Church of God, and being back home and on the Eastern Shore. So we're excited about that. But thankful again for the responsibility of civil prayer, which the Apostle Paul admonishes us to do in the Scriptures. So let's pray. Our gracious Heavenly Father, who has granted and guided us to be responsible within the domain and jurisdiction of our life work, we want to thank you that we might garner your presence at the mere mention of your Holy Son's name, Jesus. It is our request that you would give leadership, instruction, direction, management to these proceedings as those present govern our city's welfare. We acknowledge you, O God, as our benefactor. We understand the burden and the duty of supervision needed to protect and bring progress to our city as we move forward in your divine purpose and will. And so we ask you, God, that you would grant them your wisdom and grant them your strength. Thank you, O God, for the freedoms that you allow us to choose and operate within and without your governance, within or without your will, and within and without your decrees. We plead for your mercy when we would choose to be unwise, and we plead for your strength to choose what is right. We ask for your grace. We ask for your mercy currently when we continue to experience the problems of this pandemic. Bless all of those who serve on the front lines. Bless this meeting tonight. And we ask these things according to your passion, according to your power and your ability to change things for the better. Amen and amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Morris. Always good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
At this time, I'll call on the mayor. Mr. Mayor, we have a proclamation this evening.
Well, good evening, Mr. President. You hear me okay?
Yep. Hear you fine.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the council. I would just want to thank Pastor Morris for remembering Reverend Ralph Day, my grandfather. This evening, before you, to share a proclamation that we have heard some of this language before. These are updated numbers, but this is a solemn subject and one that I think it's important we recognize that there are people out there working to improve every single day and to fight this battle. Human trafficking is a serious problem in America and on the Eastern Shore, where traffickers use violence, threats, deception, and other manipulative tactics to force and coerce young and adult individuals to engage in commercial sex acts or to provide labor or services against their will. And between June 2013 and May 2020, there were reports of sex trafficking, including child sex trafficking, in every Eastern Shore county. And since 2017, throughout Maryland, 127 human trafficking victims have been rescued. Human trafficking is the second highest criminal enterprise in the United States, grossing $9.5 billion every year. And the increased use of drugs, focus on social media, and changes brought by COVID-19 have increased the level of human trafficking. The Eastern Shore Human Trafficking Task Force is engaged in anti-human trafficking actions by encouraging and promoting awareness and prevention of human trafficking, awareness built by even proclamations such as this. And across the nation during the month of January, Human Trafficking Awareness Month formally recognizes that human trafficking consistently occurs in the United States and emphasizes the need for public and private sectors to come together to focus on prevention, prosecution, partnerships, and support for survivors. And now, therefore, I, Jacob Day, Mayor of the City of Salisbury, do hereby proclaim January 2022 as Human Trafficking Awareness Month in our city. And I urge residents to educate themselves on the indicators of human trafficking to assist in identifying potential trafficking victims. And ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Ed Thomas tonight from the Eastern Shore Human Trafficking Task Force. I would just ask that we indulge if he has any comments that he would like to share.
Thank you, Mayor Day and Council President Heath and members of the council. I do have a couple of comments, and I will be very brief. We greatly appreciate that proclamation. And the city of Salisbury had a sort of an instrumental role in relaunching our task force, as we had an all-day public workshop on January the 30th, 2016 at Salisbury University. The mayor may remember he kicked it off early in the morning. We had speakers from the governor's office, from the Wicomico County State's Attorney, from the federal agencies, from the University of Maryland, knowledgeable experts on the topic of human trafficking and anti-human trafficking. And from that day, the Eastern Shore Human Trafficking Task Force sort of got re-energized and has been working rather intently to spread awareness of human trafficking and prevention of human trafficking and legislative issues. So we greatly appreciate the proclamation this evening. We hope that it'll spread throughout Wicomico County and other areas to alert the public that human trafficking is still with us, and it is actually becoming even more so during the COVID-19 days. So thank you for the steps that you have taken and for giving us the opportunity to offer a few comments this evening.
Thank you, Ed. We appreciate it, and we appreciate what you guys do and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
At this time, I'll call for a motion and a second to adopt the legislative agenda.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
I believe it was April 1st. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
April and Mr. Boda give a second. I'll call the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? And the chair votes aye. The legislative agenda is adopted by a vote of 5-0. One of the things would help, since we're back on this this path of Zoom meetings, if you could, when whoever says the motion, say your name first. That would be easier, and I can tell because the sound sometimes isn't the same. So I appreciate that if you would do that. I'll entertain a motion now to approve the consent agenda.
Jackson, so moved.
Gregory,
Jackson
second.
made a motion, and Mrs. Gregory made the second. Good evening, Mrs. Nichols.
Good evening. On the consent agenda tonight, we have November 15th, 2021 closed session minutes, November 22nd, 2021 council meeting minutes, December 6th, 2021 work session minutes, and December 6th, 2021 special meeting minutes. Resolution number 3142, approving the reappointment of Lorraine Bosman to the Salisbury Zoo Commission for term ending December 2024, and resolution number 3143, approving the appointment of Louis Rimbach to the Elections Board for term ending December 2027. And that's it.
Thank you, Mrs. Nichols. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair votes aye. The consent agenda is approved by a vote of 5-0. And I know we have Lorraine Bosman on the call. We thank you very much. And Louis, I did not see Louis's name on there, but we want to thank both of you for volunteering and Lorraine for your another go around at the Zoo Commission. And we appreciate everything you guys do for us. I'll entertain a motion to approve the award of bids.
So moved. Boda.
Jackson, second.
Mr. Boda made the motion and Ms. Jackson seconded. Mrs. Miller, good evening.
Good evening, Council President Heath, members of the council. The Department of Procurement requests approval from City Council to award contracts for EMS Medical Supplies for the Salisbury Fire Department. This is to not only supply but deliver the EMS medical supplies. The Procurement Department did follow required bidding practices by publicly posting this solicitation on the City of Salisbury's procurement portal and the State of Maryland's website, eMaryland Marketplace Advantage. There are a few additional details in the memo supplied by Chief Tull. We put out the bid in September 28th. We opened bids on November 4th. We received a total of 5 bids, 2 of which we considered complete bids or full bids, 3 of which were partial bids. So out of 200 plus EMS supply line items, when I say partial bid, they only bid a handful of items per of that 200 items. On an annual basis, the city spends about approximately $45,000 a year for medical supplies. We are looking at this to be a multi-year contract. Obviously, we contract for 1 year and then renew with optional renewals in year 2 and 3. To the GL accounts noted, the GL account noted in your packet. Again, we're looking to make this a multi-vendor award. You'll notice on the memo from Chief Tull, there's pretty much just 2 players in the market right now.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller. Questions, Mr. Boda?
No questions.
Ms. Jackson?
No questions.
Ms. Blake?
None.
I don't have any questions either. We'll now call the motion. All those in favor of the award of bids, please signify by saying aye.
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 You forgot
Opposed?
Ms. Gregory.
It's okay. I didn't have any questions, so I didn't say anything.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, April, for pointing
You're
that out.
welcome.
The chair votes aye. The award of bids is approved by a vote of 5-0.
Thank you.
We have 2 public hearings tonight. And to begin, I will call for a motion and a second to approve resolution number 3131.
So move, Jackson.
Second, Gregory.
Ms. Jackson made the motion. Mrs. Gregory seconded. Ms. Glanz, if you'll read the resolution.
Good evening, Council. Resolution number 3131, a resolution of the Council of the City of Salisbury proposing the annexation to the City of Salisbury of a certain area of land contiguous to and binding upon the corporate limits of the City of Salisbury to be known as Beaver Run Drive, Pentex Annexation, beginning at the point contiguous to and binding upon the existing corporate limits line of the City of Salisbury, Maryland, being on the westerly right-of-way line of the Walston Switch Road at its intersection with the northerly right-of-way line of US Route 50, continuing around the perimeter of the affected property to the point of beginning, being all that real property identified as map 39, parcel 264, block A, lots 1 and 2, and a portion of the public road right-of-way known as Walston Switch Road, containing 3.08 acres more or less. Whereas the City of Salisbury has received a petition for annexation dated May 6, 2021, attached hereto as Exhibit 1, and incorporated by reference as if fully set forth herein, set by at least 25% of persons who are resident registered voters and of persons who are owners of at least 25% of the assessed valuation of the real property in the area sought to be annexed, binding upon the corporate limits of the city of Salisbury to be known as Beaver Run Drive, Pentex Annexation, beginning at a point contiguous to and binding upon the existing corporate limits line of the city of Salisbury, Maryland, being on the westerly right-of-way line of Walston Switch Road at its intersection with northerly right-of-way of US Route 50, continuing around a perimeter of the affected property to the point of beginning, being all that real property identified as map 39, parcel 264, block A, lots 1 and 2. And all that certain portion of the public right-of-way known as Walston Switch Road, and further being the same real property, more particularly described in the property description attached hereto as Exhibit 2, and incorporated as if fully set forth herein, and being that same public right-of-way more particularly depicted on that certain plat entitled Annexation Boundary Exhibit, attached hereto as Exhibit 3, and incorporated as if fully set forth herein. The aforesaid real property is hereafter referred to as the annex property. And whereas the city of Salisbury has caused to be made a certification of the signatures on the said petition for annexation, and the city of Salisbury has verified that the persons signing the petition represent at least 25% of the persons who are eligible voters and property owners owning 25% of the assessed valuation of real property in the area to be annexed, all as of July 19, 2021, as set forth in the certification by Leslie C. Sherrill, surveyor of the city of Salisbury, attached hereto as Exhibit 4 and incorporated by reference as if fully set forth herein. Whereas it appears that the aforesaid petition for annexation dated May 6, 2021 meets all the requirements of applicable state and local law, and whereas pursuant to Maryland Code, Local Government 4-406, a public hearing on this resolution providing for the city of Salisbury's annexation of the annexed property as set forth herein shall be and hereby is scheduled for January 10th, 2022 at 6 p.m.
Thank you, Ms. Glanz. At this time, I would like to have anybody that would like to speak in the public hearing to please identify yourself at this time and be sworn in by the city clerk.
Yes, I'll go. I'm William Owen from Pentex Ventures.
All right, William. Is there anyone else? Okay, Mrs. Nichols, could you swear William in, please?
Yes, sir. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I'll be really brief. I really appreciate all of you.
First, let me open the public hearing.
Sure.
At this time, I will open the public hearing, and I will invite Mr. Owen to make his comments at this time.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Again, I'm from William Owen from Pentex Ventures. I'll be really brief. I just want to say thank you to everyone in Salisbury staff and all the elected officials. They're a wonderful group to work with. We've done a lot of projects with you over the years, and we look forward to doing a lot more projects with you in the years to come. And with that, I'll turn it back to you. And again, I thank all of you for your time and consideration of our request.
Thank you, Mr. Owen. I'll ask one more time, is there anyone who wishes to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing at this time. I will now call for a vote on resolution number 3131. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? And the chair votes aye. Resolution number 3131 is passed by a vote of 5-0. We have another public hearing, and at this time I'll call for a motion and a second to approve resolution number 3132.
So moved. Voda.
Second, Jackson.
Mr. Boda made the motion. Ms. Jackson seconded. Ms. Glantz, will you please read the resolution?
Yes, resolution number 3132, a resolution of the Council of the City of Salisbury proposing the annexation to the City of Salisbury of certain area of land contiguous to and binding upon the corporate limits of the City of Salisbury to be known as Beaver Run Drive Pentex Annexation, beginning at a point contiguous to and binding upon the existing corporate limits line of the City of Salisbury, Maryland, being on the westerly right-of-way line of Walston Switch Road at its intersection with the northerly right-of-way line of US Route 50, containing around the perimeter of the affected property to the point of beginning, being all that real property identified as map 39, parcel 264, block A, lots 1 and 2, and a portion of the public road right-of-way known as Walston Switch Road, containing 3.08 acres more or less. Whereas pursuant to that certain petition of annexation dated May 6, 2021, attached hereto as Exhibit 1 and incorporated by reference as if fully set forth herein, the City of Salisbury proposes the annexation of that certain lot and parcel of land contiguous to and binding upon the corporate limits of the City of Salisbury, beginning at a point contiguous to and binding upon the existing corporate limits line of the City of Salisbury, Maryland, being on the westerly right-of-way line of Walston Switch Road at its intersection with the northerly right-of-way line of US Route 50, containing around the perimeter of the affected property to the point of beginning, being all that real property identified as map 39, parcel 264, blocks A, lots 1 and 2, and all that certain portion of public road right-of-way known as Walston Switch Road, and further being the same real property, more particularly described in the property description attached hereto as Exhibit 2 and incorporated as if fully set forth herein, and being that same public right-of-way, more particularly depicted on that certain plat entitled Annexation Boundary Exhibit, attached hereto Exhibit 3 and incorporated as if fully set forth herein. And whereas pursuant to Maryland Code Local Government 4-415, the City of Salisbury is required to adopt an annexation plan for the proposed annexation of the annexed property. And whereas pursuant to Maryland Code Local Government 4-406, a public hearing on this resolution providing for the Council of the City of Salisbury's approval for the annexation plan for the City of Salisbury's annexation of the annexed property as set forth herein shall be and hereby is scheduled for January 10th, 2022 at 6 p.m.
Thank you, Ms. Glantz. At this time, again, I will call for anyone who wishes to make a comment to please identify yourself and be sworn in by Mrs. Nichols. Seeing none, I will open the public hearing and once again ask, is there anybody who wishes to speak on this topic? Hearing none, I will now close the public hearing and call for a vote on resolution number 3132. Please identify yourself if you make and second the motion.
Gregory, so moved.
Mrs. Gregory made the motion.
They've already,
I'm sorry. We all have to do the vote. I apologize. I'll call the motion now. All those in favor of resolution number 3132, please signify by saying aye.
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 Chair votes aye. The vote on resolution number 3132 passes by a vote of 5-0.
Mr. President,
Yes.
if I may make a brief comment.
Who's speaking? I can't see.
This is the mayor.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor. Go right ahead.
Oh, good. That guy. Yeah, just two things that I want to share. One, just to point out that this is, fourth or fifth project that this company has chosen to do and invest in Salisbury, frequently involving annexations, which I think is a great symbol. I mean, this is not a local developer, someone who's chosen us over other markets and is invested in a lot of markets in the Northeast United States. So I think that's great news and appreciate Pentex. But I also just want to note that our team, led by Bill Holland, as well as our attorneys, have done a great job representing us through this process. So just wanted to say thank you to them.
And thank you, Mayor Day. We appreciate, again, we appreciate you and everyone at Salisbury too, and lots of other stuff we have in the works. More irons in the fire, and love doing business with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Owen. At this time, I'll call for a motion and a second to approve resolution number 3144.
So moved, Jackson.
Is there a second?
Gregory.
Motion by Ms. Jackson, seconded by Mrs. Gregory. Ms. Glantz.
Resolution number 3144, a resolution of the City of Salisbury authorizing execution of a cable franchise agreement between the City of Salisbury and Shenandoah Cable Television, LLC. Whereas pursuant to the Cable Communication Policy Act of 1984, the Cable Television Consumer Protection and Competition Act of 1992, and the Telecommunications Act of 1996, and any future amendments thereto, the regulations of the Federal Communications Commission and Maryland law, the city is authorized to grant and renew franchises to construct, operate, and maintain a cable system utilizing the rights of way and properties within the city's jurisdiction. And whereas the city adopted and subsequently amended a cable television franchise ordinance codified at Chapter 5.22 of the city's Code of Ordinances, which further authorizes the city to grant and renew franchises to construct, operate, and maintain a cable system utilizing rights of way and properties within the city's jurisdiction. And whereas Chantel currently holds a cable franchise from the city by virtue of a cable television franchise agreement with an effective date of blank 2021, and such franchises shall expire on blank 2031. And whereas the aforesaid rights of way used by Chantel are public properties acquired and maintained by the city and held in trust on behalf of the citizens of the city, and the right to use said rights of way is valuable property right. And whereas the city performed a cable ascertainment review, including identifying the city's future cable-related community needs, and whereas the city has determined that Chantel has the financial, legal, and technical ability to provide cable services to subscribers located in the city, and whereas the city has determined that this agreement, as well as the process for consideration of this agreement, comply with all applicable federal, state, and local laws and regulations, and whereas the city, after affording the public notice and opportunity for comment, has determined that the public interest would be served by granting Chantel's franchise according to the terms and conditions contained herein. Whereas by this resolution, the council hereby approves the cable franchise agreement and hereby authorizes the mayor's execution thereof on behalf of the city.
Thank you, Ms. Glantz. Questions or comments, Mr. Boda?
I think this is a good thing. Competition breeds a better product. And I think it'll also help keep prices low in this category. So really looking forward to this addition instead of just having one choice for cable.
Thank you, Mr. Boda. Ms. Jackson?
I agree with the mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Blake?
This is a fantastic opportunity. It's exciting.
Thank you. Mrs. Gregory?
I think this is a really excellent thing for folks who need to get connected. My only question was, now it says cable, it doesn't, is this internet too? I can't remember if that was discussed previously. It is internet as well. Okay, good. All right, yeah, I think it's great.
Thank you. And I concur with Mr. Boda's comment about the need for competition. It always keeps people in line. No, if there are more questions or comments, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of resolution number 3144, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The chair votes aye. Resolution number 3144 is approved by a vote of 5-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2700 for the second reading.
Jackson, so move.
Gregory, second.
Motion made by Ms. Jackson, seconded by Mrs. Gregory.
Good evening, Council.
Ms. Bosch, good evening.
I hope everyone is well. Ordinance number 2700, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury to grant a property tax credit against the City of Salisbury tax imposed on certain real property owned by Salisbury Neighborhood Housing Services, Inc. This is for, as you mentioned, second reading. There have been no changes and was read into the record in its entirety on December the 13th. So unless council would like me otherwise, we'll just defer to the record created.
I don't have any problem with it. Ms. Nichols, we okay on that? Okay, I got a nod. Any questions or comments on ordinance number 2700? Mr. Boda.
This is, another piece of our Here is Home package that very proud of us working through this and moving all this legislation this fall to make a significant impact in housing availability.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
I'm ecstatic and I'm just waiting for everything to just fall into place.
Thank you, April. Mrs. Gregory.
I agree with everybody else. I think this is going to be a game changer for our community.
Thank you, Ms. Blake. Good. A thumbs up. Love it. And my comment is, as I said before, I think this legislation, these pieces of legislation are probably the most important thing that I've voted on since I've been on the council. And I look forward to everything being completed and reap the rewards of our efforts. I'll now call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2700 for the second reading, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The chair votes aye. Ordinance number 2700 is approved by a vote of 5-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2702.
So
So
moved.
move. Second, Jackson.
Mr. Boda made the motion. Ms. Jackson seconded. Ms. Bosch.
Ordinance number 2702, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury accepting grant funds from the Governor's Office of Crime Prevention, Youth and Victim Services in the amount of $20,000 under the FY22 Police Recruitment and Retention Program, and amending the grant fund budget to appropriate these grant funds to supplement the cost of gym memberships for city police officers. And again, this is for second reading. It was read into its entirety into the record on December the 13th. So unless council has questions, there's been no changes, and I will defer to the record created.
Thank you, Ms. Bosch. Mr. Boda, questions or comments?
No questions or comments.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson.
No questions or comments?
Mrs. Gregory.
No questions or comments.
Ms. Blake.
None.
Thank you. I'll now call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2702 for the second reading, please signify by saying aye.
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 And the chair votes aye. Ordinance number 2702 is approved by a vote of 5-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2703 for the first reading.
So moved, Jackson.
Second, Gregory.
Motion made by Ms. Jackson, seconded by Mrs. Gregory. Ms. Bosch.
Ordinance number 2703, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury approving a budget amendment of the city's special revenue fund budget and to accept and appropriate donated funds from the Draper Holdings Charitable Fund Bless Our Children campaign for the Santa's Workshop program. Whereas the City of Salisbury's Housing and Community Development Department hosts a Santa's Workshop program every year. And whereas Bless Our Children wishes to donate funds to help sponsor this annual program. And whereas the donation of funds will be used to purchase gifts, refreshment, and equipment to run the program. And whereas these donations are to be used to protect the public welfare by purchasing toys to provide to children. And whereas appropriations necessary for this donation must be made upon the recommendation of the mayor and the approval of 4/5 of the council of the City of Salisbury. Now therefore, be it enacted and ordained by the council of the City of Salisbury, Maryland as follows. Section 1, the city's FY22 Special Revenue Fund, be and hereby is amended as follows. 1, increase 01700-456-423-81001 contribution revenue by $4,000. 2, increase 10700-546-006-81001 operating expense by $4,000. Be it further enacted or ordained by the Council of the City of Salisbury, Maryland as follows. Section 2, 3, 4, and 5 are our standard legalese for all ordinances.
Thank you, Ms. Bosch. Questions or comments? Mr. Boda?
No questions or comments.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson?
No questions or comments.
Thank you. Mrs. Gregory?
No questions or comments.
Mrs. Blake?
None.
Thank you. I would just like to thank thank the Draper Foundation for the funding, but also thank our people who did a great job at that Santa's workshop. It was well done. This time I'll call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2703 for the first reading, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Chair votes aye. Ordinance number 2703 for the first reading is passed by a vote of 5-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2704 for the first reading.
So moved, Jackson.
Second, Gregory.
Boda.
Ms. Jackson made the motion. Mr. Boda made the second. Ms. Bosch.
Ordinance number 2704, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury, Maryland, granting 3 right-of-way and easement or license agreements to Delmarva Power and Light Company across 3 city-owned properties, parking lot 13, Salisbury Parking Garage, and the Salisbury City Park for installation of electric vehicle charging station facilities. Whereas the City of Salisbury owns parking lot 13, map 0107, grid 0008, parcel 0994, located along West Chestnut Street. The parking garage, map 0107, grid 0015, parcel 0881, located at 101 East Market Street. And the Salisbury City Park, map 0107, grid 0071, parcel 0930, located at 500 East Main Street. Whereas the City of Salisbury is desirous of having facilities installed for the purpose of setting up electronic vehicle charging stations in parking lot 13, the parking garage, and the Salisbury City Park. And whereas Delmarva Power and Light Company desires to acquire a license or privilege in, on, upon, over, under, across, along, and through parking lot 13, the parking garage, and the Salisbury City Park, to permit Delmarva Power and Light Company to construct, install, operate, maintain, repair, reinstall, replace, relocate, and remove electronic vehicle charging station facilities. And whereas a right-of-way and license agreement by and between the City of Salisbury and Delmarva Power and Light Company will allow Delmarva Power and Light Company the right to construct, install, operate, maintain, repair, reinstall, replace, relocate the infrastructure for the electronic vehicle charging stations in parking lot 13, the parking garage, and the Salisbury City Park. And whereas by this ordinance, the council hereby approves a right-of-way and license agreement for each of the 3 city properties, namely parking lot 13, the parking garage, and the Salisbury City Park, attached hereto and incorporated herein respectively as Exhibit A, Exhibit B, and Exhibit C, and hereby authorizes the mayor's execution thereof on behalf of the city. And now therefore be it resolved by the council of the city of Salisbury, Maryland as follows. Section 1, the mayor is hereby authorized to execute on behalf of the city of Salisbury through certain right-of-way and license agreements by and between the city of Salisbury and Delmarva Power and Light Company attached hereto and incorporated herein respectively as Exhibit A, B, and C, and they were attached as part of your agenda. Section 2, 3, 4, and 5 are, again, our legalese for ordinances.
You're on mute, Jack. But are you asking me for a comment?
Yes, I was. Go ahead.
I do have a question, and I thought of this after the meeting. Whose electric bill are these charging stations on?
That is a good question. Laura, do you know?
I believe they hook up directly to the power boxes that Delmarva Power has installed. I might have to defer. I think Amanda's still on the line.
Yes, so we are not paying the electric for these. These are Delmarva Powers. They are separately metered, and it's Delmarva Power paying the electric, and then of course they are getting reimbursed by the users who use the charging stations.
Thank you, Amanda, for that. Any questions, Ms. Jackson?
No questions.
Mrs. Gregory?
No questions. I just think this is awesome. I'm so glad to see this.
Thank you. Ms. Blake?
Done.
Thank you. I'll now call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2704 for the first reading, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The chair votes aye. Resolution number 2704 for the first reading is approved by a vote of 5-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2705 for the first reading.
So moved. Jackson.
Second, Gregory.
A motion by Ms. Jackson, a second by Mrs. Gregory. Ms. Bosch.
Ordinance number 2705, an ordinance of the city of Salisbury authorizing the mayor to appropriate funds for the Main Street Master Plan project. Whereas the city of Salisbury recently constructed utility improvements in Main Street between Mill Street and Route 13. And whereas during the course of the Main Street Master Plan project, property owners were provided the opportunity to upgrade their water service to add a fire service. And whereas the city paid the general contractors for the fire service installation and invoiced the property owners for the actual cost of the fire service for each property. And whereas property owners have reimbursed the city for the cost of their individual fire service, and whereas the city desires to use the reimbursed funds to construct the improvements on the final block of the Main Street Master Plan project, specifically St. Peter Street. And whereas the appropriations necessary to execute the purpose of the $45,456.35 of reimbursed funds as provided here and above must be made upon the recommendation of the mayor and the approval of 4/5 of the council of the city of Salisbury. Now therefore, be it enacted and ordained by the council of the city of Salisbury, Maryland as follows. Section 1, Mayor Jacob R. Day is hereby authorized to appropriate funds from the fire service reimbursement account to the Main Street Master Plan construction account in the amount of $45,456.35. Be it further enacted and ordained by the council of the city of Salisbury, Maryland as follows. Section 2, the city of Salisbury's FY22 general fund budget be and hereby is amended as follows. Increase revenue for the current year surplus, account number 01000-469810 in the amount of $45,456.35. an increase expense to the Transfer General Capital Projects Fund, account number 91001-599109, in the amount of $45,456.35. Section 3, the City of Salisbury Water Sewer Capital Project Fund budget be and hereby is amended as follows: to increase revenue for the Main Street Master Plan, the account description, transfer and general fund, account 98119-469313-48022, and the amount of $45,456.35. An increase expense to the Main Street Master Plan for construction, and the account number of 98119-513026-48022, and the amount of $45,456.35.
Thank you, Ms. Bosch.
You're welcome.
Comments, Mr. Boda?
No comments.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson?
No comments.
Ms. Blake? Thank you. Mrs. Gregory?
No comment.
Hearing none, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2705 for the first reading, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? And the chair votes aye. Ordinance number 2705 for the first reading is approved by a vote of 5-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2706 for the first reading.
So moved. Boda.
Second, Jackson.
Motion made by Mr. Boda, seconded by Ms. Jackson. Ms. Bosch.
Ordinance number 2706, an ordinance of the City of Salisbury approving an amendment of the FY22 budget to appropriate funds for street resurfacing and concrete repair. Whereas the City of Salisbury Department of Infrastructure and Development has completed paving and concrete repair projects throughout the city that are eligible for reimbursement from MDOT SHA. And whereas the city has received a reimbursement from MDOT SHA in the amount, or in the sum of $136,098.79. And whereas the Department of Infrastructure and Development seeks to reimburse the operating account from which the original appropriation was budgeted in order to continue the citywide paving and concrete programs. Whereas the appropriation is necessary to execute the purpose of the $136,098.79 of reimbursed funds as provided here and above must be made upon the recommendation of the mayor and the approval of 4/5 of the council of the city of Salisbury. Now therefore be it enacted and ordained by the council of the city of Salisbury, Maryland as follows. Section 1, Mayor Jacob Arday is hereby authorized to appropriate funds from the MDOT reimbursement account to the citywide street maintenance account in the amount of $136,098.79. Be it further enacted and ordained by the council of the city of Salisbury, Maryland as follows. Section 2, the City of Salisbury's FY22 general fund budget be and hereby is amended as follows. Increase revenue to the MDOT reimbursements account 01000-424202 in the amount of $104,310.59. Increase revenue to the current year surplus account number 01000-469810 in the amount of $31,788.20. An increase expense to the citywide street maintenance account number 31000-534318 in the amount of $136,098.79.
Thank you, Ms. Bosch. Mr. Boda, questions or comments?
It's always great to see this reimbursement every year. But I would like to take this moment and lean on Maryland Municipal League President, Mayor Jacob Arday, to make sure that we are front and center with our representation in Annapolis to fully fund our HUR money that is rightfully ours, was taken away over a decade ago. We've gotten grants and stuff over the years, but it's vitally important for not just the city of Salisbury, but cities and towns across the state who struggle to keep their infrastructure up to par.
Thank you, Mr. Boda. Ms. Jackson?
Well, Mayor,
Oh.
the legislative committee has put that to the forefront, so you don't have to worry about that. We've been working on it. So you don't have to bear down on the mayor so hard.
There's a good combination there between the mayor and Ms. Jackson. They're gonna get their point across, I'm sure.
Mr. President, if I can.
Sure, go right ahead.
No, it's such an important point, and the fact that our wonderful legislative committee advanced two priorities this year for the Maryland Municipal League. One of them being fully funding, not only fully funding, restoring highway user revenues, but eliminating the sunset that is to come in 2024. So the membership voted at the fall meeting. So every municipality is behind this. We are all united on this front, and you better believe I'll be advocating for it. We had a good meeting with the governor a week ago, or a couple weeks ago, to advocate for precisely that. I'm hopeful that this year is our year, so we shall see. But I think we're all, and the Maryland Municipal League and the Maryland Association of Counties are in lockstep on this. We have a bill that has been put forth by Senator Corey McCray and Delegate Carl Anderton. So there's a bill in the House and a bill in the Senate that advances this objective. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Gregory?
Nothing.
Thank you. Ms. Blake? Thank you. The only comment I have, the sunset is my biggest concern. We've been going through this, goes back several years when Ms. Glanz and I were on the legislative committee and fought equally as hard to get a percentage of it back. But we need and we deserve to get the full vote. And I have faith in the way that it's being done now, with mutual support between the county and the city. And I think that's gonna help a lot. So thank you very much. If there's no further comments, I'll call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2706 for the first reading, please signify by saying aye.
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 Anyone opposed? The chair votes aye. Ordinance number 2706 for the first reading is approved by a vote of 5-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2707.
So moved, Jackson.
Is there a second?
Second, Boda.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Ms. Bosch?
Ordinance number 2707, an ordinance of the city of Salisbury authorizing the mayor to appropriate funds in the FY22 general fund budget and amend the authorized positions included in the FY22 general fund budget. Whereas the city of Salisbury recently determined there was a need to reorganize positions and change grades assigned to positions. And whereas during the course of the past few months, the city executives have been assessing and formulating position and grade changes that will be of a benefit to the city. And whereas the appropriations below, as provided here and above, must be made upon the recommendation of the mayor and the approval of 4/5 of the council of the city of Salisbury. Now therefore, being enacted and ordained by the council of the city of Salisbury, Maryland as follows. Section 1, the city of Salisbury's FY22 general fund budget be and hereby is amended as follows. Increase expense for the Business Development Department, org 11600, in the amount of $30,000. Increase expense for the Human Resource Department, org number 18500, in the amount of $50,000. Decrease expense for the Field Op Traffic org number 22000 in the amount of $25,000. Decrease expense for the Field Op Resource Management, org number 30000 in the amount of $30,000. Decrease expense for Field Op Streets, org number 31150 in the amount of $25,000. Section 2, the City of Salisbury's FY22 authorized position budget and position pay grades be and hereby is amended according to Schedule A attached. And be it further enacted and ordained by the Council of the City of Salisbury, Maryland. Again, Section 3, 4, 5, and 6 are our standard legalese.
Thank you, Ms. Bosch. Questions or comments? Mr. Boda.
No questions or comments.
Ms. Jackson?
No questions or comments.
Thank you. Mrs. Gregory?
No questions or comments.
Ms. Blake? No
None.
questions. Thank you. Just for the audience that's viewing, in case you weren't adding up and subtracting, this is a wash. There is no increased cost based on the reorganization. I'll now call the motion. All those in favor of ordinance number 2707 for the first reading, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? And the chair votes aye. Ordinance number 2707 for the first reading is approved by a vote of 5-0. I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 2708 for the first reading.
So moved, Jackson. I'll
Ms.
second.
Jackson?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Boda made the motion. Ms. Jackson seconded. Ms. Bosch?
Ordinance number 2708, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Salisbury amending and supplementing ordinance number 2554, passed by the Council on August 26, 2019, approved by the Mayor of the City of Salisbury on August 27, 2019, and effective on August 27, 2019, in order to authorize and empower the city to use and apply a portion of the principal amount of the $11,225,000 of the City of Salisbury public improvement bonds of the 2019 issued on October 8, 2019, to the projects identified herein as the Rail Trail Master Plan implementation and the City Park Master Plan improvements, and identifies such additional projects as projects for all purposes of ordinance number 2554, providing that this title is a fair statement of the substance of the ordinance, authorizing certain city officials to take certain actions in connection with the transactions contemplated by this ordinance, providing that the provisions of this ordinance shall be liberally construed and otherwise generally related to the use of the proceeds of the 2019 bonds. And this was drafted by our bond counsel, and in keeping with that practice, because it is a very lengthy ordinance, I believe we read the memo. So I'm going to defer to that and read the memo into the record, which is a summary of the ordinance. So Schedule B of the FY22 budget ordinance included a reallocation of $1,843,674 from the Main Street Master Plan project to fund the following projects. There's the City Park Master Plan improvements for $400,000, the Bicycle Master Plan improvements for $475,000, the Urban Greenway improvements for $450,000, the Rail Trail Master Plan implementation for $300,000, and the Downtown Streetscape for $218,674 for a total of $1,843,674. The reallocation of the bond proceeds to projects not previously included in the bond pool requires a bond ordinance to insert the project. And this ordinance, again, prepared by bond counsel, inserts the rail trail project in the bond pools as required, so that the appropriations established in Schedule B of the FY22 budget ordinance, including the Rail Trail Master Plan implementation project, are included as a project in the bond documents.
Thank you, Ms. Bosch. Questions or comments, Mr. Boda?
I'm really excited to see us, transferring this money to these projects and get this. This is such an important piece of connectivity in our community. And I think will help people move around more that ride bikes. And then I think it'll also help attract, people to Salisbury for tourism and stuff. So I'm very excited about this, and it adds just another great addition to our community.
Thank you, Mr. Bowden. Ms. Jackson?
No comment.
Thank you. Mrs. Gregory?
Concur with Muir.
Thank you. Ms. Blake? No comments. Okay. I'll call the motion now. All those in favor of ordinance number 2708 for the first reading, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The chair votes aye. Ordinance number 2708 for the first reading is approved by a vote of 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Bosch. Appreciate it. Well, that's the last item on the agenda, and we are now ready for public comments. Anybody that would like to make a public comment, please identify yourself. I don't see any. Okay, then we'll go to the administration. Mr. Mayor, anything for the good of the order?
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. There are two things that I wanted to point out. One, that the Economic Interest Group recently published an article, and today we were looking at our census figures and comparing them to the voter registration rolls, housing information we have, water and sewer connections, a variety of other things, and just looking at the missteps that are made, in the census, potentially because of the noise that's inserted in the data to try to disaggregate, to aggregate people so that you couldn't identify certain individuals and their incomes or their household size, things like that. But the Economic Interest Group just published, and it was run in the New York Times, an article about population loss around the United States and the working age population loss. And I think it's interesting just to note where Salisbury falls in there and where we stand out as not only population growth, but working age population growth center. And as one of the very, very small percentage of U.S. counties, Wycomico County, that has more than 3% foreign-born skilled workers in our community. And lots of good news as far as the continued trajectory of our community. So I just wanted to share that. Last thing I want to note is you all have talked about the Here's Home legislation and the importance of that work, but I just want to applaud you because tonight you adopted the last piece of it into law. So I'll sign that tomorrow, and it'll be law. Every single piece of that legislation is now in effect, and as Amanda continues to update you on the as Ms. Pollock continues to update you on the numbers that come in for the fee waiver period, you'll see the fruits of that labor. So we'll see it there. We'll see it with the construction of the tiny home village, and we'll see it with the forthcoming applications for pilots for our affordable housing developments. And I know we've got one in the works this year. So thank you all, and congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it. Ms. Glantz, would you like to add anything?
I have no further comments, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Boda.
So just a couple of things. I think one thing maybe somebody could work on, maybe Andy, this is probably good for him, is to, with the Here's Home, I know we supposedly waived some fees, but what would be the ultimate as far as tax base increase that we could see from tax revenue when all these projects are developed versus if we hadn't done it, what may have been developed. So that would be something good to see as far as tax generated revenue from these projects, because ultimately with the revenue cap in Wacomico County, this is going to reduce county property taxes for everybody in the county. So I don't think anybody grasps that, how this works. And so that would be a good figure to see. And then my last thing is, and maybe I'm stepping into fire a little bit, and maybe somebody might be offended. But a couple years ago, we fought to get this legislation for the Alcohol Control Board, and ultimately it was an agreement between the city and the county to have, expand the board and have some directly appointed city representatives on the board. At this point, there has been because the appointments we've not seen anything. There's been no city appointments to this board. This is law. This is passed by the General Assembly, signed by the governor. And we went through great lengths to do this. So if we could have an update on what's the path forward, and if it's unlikely that we're going to get appointments, I don't know if legal can look at the law that was passed. What are the repercussions for these appointments not going through? And then the other point is, do we need to go back to our original plan and have our own alcohol control board for the city of Salisbury? So I'm just putting that out there. If we can discuss this at a work session in the future, that would be great. That's all I have. Happy New Year, everybody.
Mr. President.
Go right ahead, Mr. Mayor.
May I?
Sure.
Yeah, Mr. President, two things. Well, let me respond to each of those. One, yes, the analysis required to estimate the value of what's proposed may be a little difficult, but we will try to come up with something to express what is proposed to be built that would not have otherwise been built or come to fruition as a result of the Here's Home legislation, which will be impacted by some things like Enterprise and Horizon for the few things in the Enterprise Zone and Horizon Zone. But we'll articulate that and we'll do the analysis. Whether or not we have a value estimate, I'm not sure. So it'll be tough to necessarily give a property tax value, but we might be able to come up with like a per unit, some sort of per unit assessed figure based on the average townhome, the average assisted living unit, the average single family detached dwelling, the average apartment, the average student dwelling, and give you something to estimate. So once we have everything in, we will come up with some sort of analysis to provide to the council. Absolutely. On the second issue, some progress is being made. So the county executive has at least one individual that has submitted their credentials, and he is working to, my understanding is he is working to interview that person, determine whether or not he is ready to make an appointment, and then share that information with me. I'll make a determination whether or not I'm willing to make that appointment. And then in our case, we'll send it to, I would like to send it to City Council. Now, this is not an appointment that exists in our law, but I'd love to treat it like an appointment to a city board. I'm also all for and willing to sign legislation that requires that. I'm not sure we need to go that route, but I support that. That being said, this is then a gubernatorial appointment, so we would send our recommendations, essentially what it is, by the mayor and executive to the governor to make the actual appointment. So these are state appointed positions or governor appointed positions. So we're making a little bit of progress. I share your concern. I share your reticence to just let this languish forever. And I am, as always, a proponent of the original plan. But I think we should afford the acting county executives a little bit more time to see if a couple names can come forward and if we can agree. And if we can't, then I think that other conversation is entirely appropriate.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Boda. Ms. Jackson?
Good evening. What I want to say and need to say is I've come across numerous of families who have COVID. Entire families. Please get your COVID vaccine. Please get your booster shots. This is horrible. This is truly, this is horrible because you have to wear your mask. We're to the point again to where we should have never stopped wearing our masks anyway. But here we are back on virtual when we should have never had to be back here again. But we're here and it's for our safety. And I do understand that. But people, citizens, residents, tourists, whatever, please respect other people. Respect yourself. Continue to wear your mask. Even if you've had your shots, wear your mask because you're not only protecting somebody else, you're basically protecting yourself as well. So wear your mask, get your shots, all of them. Don't be afraid because you don't know what's in the medicine that we take every day. So don't be afraid to get a vaccine because I can actually tell you, I've had COVID twice and I'll tell you a million times. And I've been in surroundings where I possibly could have gotten it, but I didn't. And I owe it all to the vaccine and the booster because I have a compromised immune system. So please follow directions, do what you've asked to do. When you go in establishments, if they say wear your mask, wear your mask. Please wear your mask. But most of all, go get your vaccines, go get the booster, and respect others. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, April. Michelle?
Just going off of what April said, there were the Wicomico County Health Department announced today that there have been 563 new confirmed positive cases in the last 3 days.
Yes.
3 days. Okay. Please go get your vaccine. Please go get your booster. And I also want to point out that I'm very disappointed that when the state health department opened up new testing sites, not one of them was put on the Eastern Shore. Not one. And it is extremely difficult to get a test now because there are so many cases. And I feel like we really need to make sure that the state health department understands that we need one down here, at least one on the Eastern Shore, because it's very difficult to get a test right now because of so many cases. And some people are having to pay quite a bit out of pocket for them as well. And that's just not acceptable. We need to make these tests accessible to everybody. And if someone can't afford a huge copay to get this test done, then they're not going to get the test. And that's just going to mean that they're not going to know whether they're positive or not. And they could spread it to other people.
That's right.
So we really need the state to set at least one of these testing sites up on the Eastern Shore and make it accessible to the folks here. It's a whole section of the state. A third of the state did not get these COVID test sites. So, and that goes for Western Maryland as well. But, we're on the Eastern Shore, so I'm going to talk about that. So in the meantime, please be safe. Like April said, get your tests or get your shots, wear a mask, sanitizer, social distance, all of those things. So we can get out of this box that we're in now. So thanks.
Thank you, Michelle. Angela, any comments?
I'm going to try to get out just 2 comments if everyone can understand me. One, if you're healthy enough, you better donate blood. You know that. And the other thing, to honor my favorite of all time favorites, Miss Betty White, please donate to the Humane Society. Mr. Bailey's on behalf of Mr. Bailey, who also liked Miss Betty White. Miss Bella's sleeping right now. She's minding her own business, which is very rare, but she's minding her own business. But, donate blood, and certainly, donate to the Humane Society. Okay, Mr. Bailey? Yeah.
Thank you, Angela.
Okay.
Tonight I'm going to go a little different than normal. I want to give a shout out to all the people who are working at Tidal Health.
Mm-hmm.
After Christmas, I had an incident and went to Tidal Health by ambulance and eventually was diagnosed with pneumonia. And I thank God that it wasn't COVID. But just to give people a sense who have not been around Tidal Health, there's a hallway behind the administration, behind where you go in and sign in. That hallway is probably 60 feet long. And I sat in that hallway with about 35 or 40 other people before I could get into the emergency room. And the staff and the nurses were absolutely phenomenal. And I might say, I know that some of them were exhausted because one of the young guys came to me and I said, "You look like you need a nap." And he says, "I've been up for 19 and a half hours here." And I got a bed. I went there at 7:30. The ambulance dropped me at 7:30. I got into a room at 3:30 in the morning. Mm. And I getting angry because I'm tired of people saying that these numbers are false. And I'm tired of hearing people say, this isn't for real. Tell all of those people that are working, all the doctors, all the nurses, the custodians, the housekeepers, security, who are working these incredible hours with no end in sight. And that the worst part is I just saw the number of kids that are testing with COVID. I won't say what I want to say, but I will say this. Please think about what you're doing or what you're not doing, because it's impacting the rest of our city, our state, and our country. Thank you for listening. I think that's it for this evening. I want to thank everybody for their participation, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.